This is exactly how I would invest my first $1,000 if I was starting over today in 2026. Once most guys start making real money in life, like after high school with their first real job or after college, one of the first things we want to do, right, is start to invest because we know that's how we make our money work for us and turn into more money. It's what like financially smart people do, right? They invest their money. So in this video, I thought I would go over how I would invest my first $1,000, the type of investments I would pick, where I would put it, and the exact order that I follow when I invest. And this isn't going to be one of those videos where I say, oh, just invest in yourself. No, I want to actually explain like some places where you can put your money and make it work for you. And before I go any further, where would you guys invest your first $1,000, and what do you think are good investments starting out? Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to pretend that I'm an 18-year-old just out of high school. I have my first real job. Maybe I'm working construction or in a factory or something like that, or starting an apprenticeship for the trades or something like that, and I'm starting to make my first real good paychecks, making like $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And, I'm probably living with friends and like with roommates or with my parents or something like that. So my expenses aren't really that high. So I kind of save up money just automatically because I don't have a lot of expenses. And then after a few months, I have this $1,000 saved up, and I think I'm ready to invest it. Now, I know for a fact, because this was me a couple of years ago, that I'm going to get a bunch of conflicting views on investing and what I should be doing with it and how to do it. I'm going to have some friends that say put it into crypto or trade options or something like that because it's going to 10x my money overnight. And everybody knows when you're young, like 18 or 20 or 22, you should be taking a bunch of risk because you apparently have no downsides and no consequences and unlimited upside. But no, smart 18-year-old me is going to ignore all of that. And I'm not going to do what most of my friends do with their $1,000. In most cases, for most guys that I've seen, trying to chase those massive investment returns is like the number one mistake that everybody makes early on. And more often than not, just lose that money. Now, the actual first thing that 18-year-old me is going to do is ask himself, is this $1,000 all I have saved up? Because if it is, then I shouldn't be investing at all. No matter which way you spin it or trying to think about it, investing is just always going to be a little bit risky. You always have the chance that you could lose all of it. And even the lowest risk investments that are considered mostly safe can either lock your money up somewhere for months, years, or even decades where you can't access it, or the money you put in could tank to half its value overnight and take those months or years or even decades to recover. So I'm not going to invest the money that I need next week to pay for a tuition bill or my car payment or my rent or something like that. I need to cover those basics first. So yeah, I know it sounds lame, but I really should be just saving my first $1,000, and really more than that if I'm really trying to be financially smart. Because whether we like it or not, even when you're like 18, 19, 20 and your expenses are really low, you never know it could pop up and cost you thousands of dollars all at once. Okay, that's the first assumption that I'm going to make, that this 18-year-old version of me has some savings already, so I'm not going to go bankrupt or go into credit card debt if I get into a little car accident or something like that. And that brings up my next key point, that credit card. If I have a bunch of credit card debt, or really any other debt like a car payment or student loans already that are really high interest, it's not going to make sense to invest the money into stocks or something like that when I've got this massive payment weighing me down and holding me back. So I'm going to tell myself, pay off the stupid debt first, and then your investing will actually be worth it. Okay, now that we have those two assumptions out of the way, that I have some sort of emergency savings saved up, and I'm not carrying any high interest debt holding me back, then finally I can actually invest, and it's not going to be a dumb financial decision. So then what is the best first investment? Well, I'm going to tell my 18-year-old self, invest in stocks. But not just individual stocks like Amazon or Google or anything like that, but dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of stocks all at once. Because holding one stock with all of your money is basically betting all your money on one horse to win the race, in this case, one company to do good. If that company does poorly or even goes out of business, you're just going to lose your money. So I would tell my 18-year-old self to invest in index funds or ETFs. These are huge bundles of stocks, usually those dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of stocks put together in one fund that you can buy with this $1,000. And then your money is like spread between all of those companies. So one failing isn't going to affect you hardly at all. And on the plus side, if most of the companies increase in value, most of your money will increase in value with it. And you won't even care about the one or two loser companies that don't do well. So what are the names of some of these ETFs that I would want to invest in if I was 18 and just starting out? I'm going to give 3 recommendations in this video. The first one is like the lowest risk. So like the lowest chance of you losing your money and your money going down in value. And this first ETF is called VT. Those letters don't mean anything, they're just like the symbol for it. And this is an index fund that covers the entire world stock market, so your money is spread between thousands and thousands of companies. The next ETF on this list is a little bit more risky, and I'm going to go with VOO, or VOOs, as some people call it. And this is the 500 largest companies in just America. And again, this one is slightly more risky. And finally, the third ETF I would consider if I was 18 is called QQQM. And this tracks the 100 largest companies in America, which are mostly big tech companies. And since this has the fewest number of companies within this index fund, it's also the most risky investment. Just something to be careful about. Now, with all of these, there are some caveats you should be aware of, and I would like to remind my 18-year-old self of, and that is being invested in any sort of stock market doesn't guarantee it's going to grow in value. The stock market can go down in value or be stagnant for years on end. So again, I shouldn't invest money that I need near term because there's no guarantee I can get it back right away. But again, if we give it long enough invested in these large broad market index funds, that is where they truly shine, and they have almost always come out ahead given a long enough time. The S&P 500, that middle risk index fund I talked about, historically has returned 10% every year. And if you invest this $1,000 at 18 and never touch it again until you're 65, it would be worth about $88,000 to $90,000 all on its own. And really, that's it. That's all I would do to invest my first $1,000 if I was starting over again at 18. I wouldn't get complicated with stock options or crypto or anything like that. I would just put it into a large broad market index fund and let time do its thing and start to compound year after year. Now, as for where I would put this money, I would first open a Roth IRA with a basic online brokerage. And this is literally as simple as going online to Google or whatever and looking up Vanguard or Fidelity or M1 Finance or something like that. Putting in my information while creating an account and then opening a Roth IRA. From there, I would simply pick the investments that I want, that VOO, QQQM, or VT, and that's it. Just leave it be. I'll probably go in more detail in future videos on what the Roth IRA is, how to pick a brokerage, and stuff like that. But for the purpose of this video, that is just where I would invest this $1,000, where I would keep it. And finally, getting back to 18-year-old me's expectation, I wouldn't expect this to turn into $10,000 in the next year or anything like that. I would just try and set my expectations a little more realistically. That's the whole point of starting to invest. It's learning the habits, building the discipline, and setting your expectations the right way. Getting those things right at 18 is far more valuable than trying to chase huge returns in the stock market or crypto or something like that. If the 18-year-old me in this video had just done this stuff, he would already be so far ahead of every other guy his age. He would have skipped the hype and skipped the trends and the crypto and the options trading that all of his friends were doing and started to actually build real habits that would get him way further in life in the long run. And yeah, while it might seem lame to invest this way, it's actually kind of comforting that it is really this simple and it can be this simple. And to any other 18-year-old out there, that lesson is probably the most valuable thing you can learn out of everything. And it all starts with just investing that first $1,000. That's all we got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, drop a like down below, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you all in the next one. Adios, guys.